The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. This book is about building small habits that, when compounded with time, equate to a radical difference. Here's the formula. Small and smart choices with consistency and time equals radical difference. We live in a world today where a lot of people are focused on instant gratifications. They want results right away. The reality is that most things in life that are really worthwhile come through gradual change, through gradual habits. And if you find yourself in a situation right now where you want to change your life around, and you look around and you look for solutions to the problem, because of marketing, you'll often find instant gratification solutions. That's because this is what we're interested in buying. We want things to happen fast. But like I said, the reality is that anything worthwhile takes time. It takes discipline, and it takes daily consistency. It doesn't matter if you're trying to create wealth, or you're trying to build an ideal body, or if you're trying to lose weight, or you're trying to build relationships or improve your communication skills. Everything in life that's worthwhile takes time. But the good news is you can change your habits today. And it starts with small habits. It's the things you do every day that move you towards a positive direction that with time produces results. Now, there are times where things happen really fast. There's no doubt about that. You can have an opportunity that when you execute upon it will produce results really fast. But that also comes as a result of being in the right place in the right time. And you find yourself in the right place in the right time through consistency. So the more good, smart choices you make, the more you'll find yourself in opportunistic situations, the better you'll be equipped to execute upon those opportunities, and you will be able to enjoy a balance of increased growth spurts that happen really fast and the benefit of the long-term gradual increase. And you'll also find a lot of enjoyment in the process. This is because when you build momentum and that momentum continues to grow, you'll find yourself in flow state, which is a state of mind where skill meets challenge. And it's from this place where you'll find a lot of joy and happiness. And not only that, you'll be getting results, and the results will be increasing every day. So again, adopt the philosophy of small, smart choices with consistency and time to get that radical difference. And you can start today. No matter where you are with your habits, you can change them around today. And the key is to start small. So this book is broken up into 5 parts here, and we're going to discuss each of the 5 parts. We're going to start with choices. Everything in your life exists because you first made a choice about it. Think about that. Wherever you are in your life right now, most likely you are there because of a choice you made. And that choice could have been made 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. That little choice that you made sent you down on a different direction. And the more consistent you were on that choice, it resulted in the outcome that you have today, whether it's positive or negative. If you're in great shape, for example, or you're really young, you're like 17 years old, and you go out and you get a Big Mac and you eat that down, nothing is really going to change within the 5 minutes to follow. You might feel a little sluggish, or you might feel happy that you had something good to eat that tastes really good, but it's not going to change your life around. However, if you eat a Big Mac every day for 10 years or 15 years and you don't exercise and the rest of your diet is not good, then you're probably going to end up obese, or you'll probably end up with some kind of issue, like a disease or something. So with the compound effect, little things is where the devil's at. The devil is in the details. Now, the positive is also in the details. For example, say when you were 19, you exercised every day. Would your body change right away the following week? Probably not. Would your cardiovascular go up dramatically? Probably not. Would your blood lipids or whatever the measurements used to measure health go up right away? Probably not. But if you do it consistently over the course of 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, you would notice that you would be radically different compared to everyone else your age. So everything that you've ever done in your life has brought you to where you are right now. And the good news is, no matter where you are, you can change the direction of your life based on the decision that you make right now. You can make the decision right now to listen to this video and pay attention to what I'm talking about. Take a list of things that you can apply and apply it right away and apply it consistently over time to change the direction of your life. How do I know this? Because when I realize now, being 36 years old, looking at all the positive in my life and some of the negative in my life, I realized that I could have changed the situation. I could have changed the negative, or I could have amplified the positive so I can have even more of it. And now that I came across this book again, I realized that I've got to take it to the next level. So again, taking it to the next level doesn't mean that you push everything for radical change tonight, but rather that you change small little habits that build momentum, and you repeat it every single day, and you do it with consistency, and you give it time so that a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, there's a radical difference in health, wealth, happiness, relationships, whatever it is that you want to improve on. Remember, you make the choices and your choices make you. A lot of times we want to blame the environment and people for our situation. The reality is that a lot of times we have a choice. It's just easier to blame everything else. It's harder to take responsibility. So start today by recognizing that you have full responsibility for everything that happens to you in your life, and make the choice to make the right decision. If you are going to have the junk food for lunch, change that decision today and pick something healthy. Like I said, it's not going to make a radical difference after that, but if you start that movement and you move in that direction and you remain consistent on that tomorrow and the day after, the results will be outstanding over the course of months, years, and even decades. Every decision, no matter how slight, alters the trajectory of your life. You are where you are today because of a small decision that had a snowball effect that you made at some point in your life, whether it's positive or negative. So the key is to make really small positive directions. Choose to think positively, to act positively, to do things that move you forward. Don't waste your time debating with people about things that don't matter, but instead invest your time in consuming information that empowers you, and more importantly, consume information that empowers you to think in this perspective, to think about the little things that you're doing every single day and motivating yourself to make the little changes that have the big impact. For most of us, it's the frequent, small, and seemingly inconsequential choices that are of grave concern. So what this means is that there are things that you're doing right now that might not be impactful in a negative way tomorrow, but yet you're doing it knowing that if you did it consistently over time, you are going to get a negative result. This could apply in your health, fitness, relationship, business. And the idea is that we always think that we can change it tomorrow. So, you know what? We're just going to get away with it today. But the reality is that that wires our brain for habitual behavior, and it becomes harder to break. So choose daily gratitude. One of the things is when you realize that when you are on this pathway where you've done a lot of things that aren't beneficial, you can be hard on yourself. And the reality is that you've got to be more forgiving of yourself. You shouldn't really punish yourself for being where you are today. Be grateful that you have an opportunity right now and you're in a certain place where you can change things around. No matter where you are today, you can change things around and make it positive. You can move towards a positive direction. And it starts by appreciating that here you are right now, and you have this understanding that you can do it, and you have the capability to do it, and you have the opportunity to do it. No matter how drastic it may seem, when your life changes around, you start small so that when the trickle effect kicks in and the momentum builds up, the big steps get taken easily. But you have to start with small steps. I take 100% responsibility for everything I experience, completely owning all my choices and all the ways I respond to whatever happened to me. I hold the power. One of the important aspects of life is to believe and internalize and realize that you have the power. In earlier stages of life, because we're brought up in environments where we have to rely on people, because we're younger and we're not as well understood or versed in the world, we give the power onto others to make decisions for us. This can be positive and it can be negative. As we grow and we become wiser, we have to realize that we are more responsible for everything that happens to us in our life. We are responsible for what happens. And that gives us a tremendous amount of power. We hold the power for change, and nothing in life has any meaning unless you give it meaning. Remember that. Nothing in life has any meaning unless you give it meaning. So choose to give it an empowering meaning, a meaning that gives you choices that can move you in the direction that you want. So by taking responsibility, by first saying, I accept 100% responsibility and I will never blame or never pass the responsibility onto anyone else, you recalibrate your brain for a chance to move in a positive direction. And you acquire the power back. You take the power back. What you want is to hold the power. Do not give the power to anyone else. And the best way to hold the power is to assume 100% responsibility. When you assume 100% responsibility, you're better equipped to make better choices. He talks about getting lucky. Well, there's a formula for getting lucky, so here's the formula. Number one is preparation, which is personal growth, which is consistently and constantly improving and preparing yourself and your skills, knowledge, expertise, relationships, and resources every day. Plus attitude, which is your belief and mindset of seeing situations, conversations, and circumstances as fortuitous or opportunities, not seeing it as something negative and not seeing it as disadvantageous. The belief that things are always working in your favor. This can be a radical belief because a lot of people don't think this way, but you have to think this way if you want to assume 100% responsibility and you want to keep the power in your hands. Plus opportunity, being able to see a good thing when it comes your way. If you're positive and you're always keeping your mind open for possibilities, you'll be able to better recognize an opportunity. If you're consistently doing the good habits every day, you're going to find yourself in situations where you're going to have more opportunity. And then action, doing something about it. Speed of implementation. Ideas are useless unless you can act upon them. Unless you act upon it, an idea doesn't mean anything. And you must act upon it right away. As soon as you get that idea, act upon it right away. If it's something that you know is viable, something that you know will produce results, act on it right away, because not only will that get that ball moving, but it will also train your brain to become the kind of person who takes action and doesn't talk about it. In today's world, a lot of people spend far more time talking about things rather than doing things. It's far more important to do things than it is to talk about it, because nowadays we have more information than we can handle. Simply talking about it, you'll just find that you're not really going to get anything done. And you're not going to be able to understand and implement optimization, which comes as a result of taking action. So it's best to take action on the information that you get, and then from the response you get from the environment, figure out the optimizations and go and learn that, and then act upon that and keep going, because this is how you create luck. Because this is the formula right here. If you apply it, you create your own luck. Let's talk about this right here. He calls it your secret weapon, your scoreboard. First of all, you have to know exactly what you want. Whatever area of life that you're choosing to get success in, you have to have a clear mental visual image of what it is that you want to achieve. And next, what you need to do is track your behavior. You have to keep a record of your progress. So you can do a journal or a behavior log, which is something that I like to do, which essentially the way it works is I observe my behaviors and how I think throughout the day and ask myself if my behaviors and my thoughts are moving me towards my objective or not. If they're not, I readjust the stories I tell myself, readjust the behaviors, and I move forward. If they are, if they are moving me forward, I figure out how to do them better, how to amplify them so they have more effect, how to do more of them, how to scale them. You got to keep a spreadsheet to be able to track your finances, your progress that you're making in your health and fitness, or you could use one of the tracking apps that are available on your phone. I like to use a combination of both. I use a spreadsheet to track my finances, and I use tracking apps to track my food consumption and my exercise progress. So it's important to track and analyze the data from your actions, because that's how you'll find optimizations. So when you take action and you go towards the right direction, any type of action, you'll find yourself in a situation where you realize you can optimize those actions and you can make consistent optimal actions as the days progress. One of the best ways to do this is to analyze the data from your actions. So most people don't take note of the data from the actions that they take. Professionals use stats. For example, baseball players, sports, they use stats to be able to track where a player's performance is peak, where it's lowing, and figure out how to do the optimizations and the training or whatever else they have to change when it comes to that player to get them to that optimal space based on the stats. And we have to be able to think that way too. We have to have proper reporting in place so we can report to ourselves all the things that are working and all the things that are not. One of the things that I like to do is every Sunday I look at all the data from my week in my business, my personal life, in my health and fitness, etc., all the areas that are important to me, and I report back to myself to analyze and figure out what I need to do better next week. Most people do not take the time and they don't treat themselves like an entire organization, like it's some kind of corporate structure. They don't treat themselves like that because they are not as serious about the growth. Now, to each their own, but if you want to be able to get the most success from whatever area of your choice, you have to create a reporting structure that you're able to see all the data and analyze that data that you've been learning, and from there be able to figure out what you need to do as the weeks and months to follow. This gives you educated decisions, and the educated decisions can come in the form of what to study next, what to learn next, what to do next, who to consult with next, and what to essentially get as the next step based on the data that you have from your optimizations and your analysis of your actions and the way you feel and etc. That's what's going to give you the educated decision as to what you need to do next. So here are the things that I track in my life. I track my time because I want to know where all my time is going. I realize, and we all do, only have 24 hours a day, and I want to make sure I'm optimal in all those times. I track my social and business communications because I want to make sure that my communication skills are improving. I want to be able to do better deals. I want to be able to build more solid friendships. I want to improve my relationships. And the way I do this is by tracking the response I get from people through implementing different communication and social strategies. I track my fitness because I want to continue growing in my health and fitness realm. I want to build more muscle. I want to improve my cardio. I want to ensure that my body fat stays low. I want to be able to have more flexibility. I want to continuously improve these areas, so I track all my progress to make sure that there's progress happening every week. I also track what I eat. I track the calories that I eat, the proteins, the fats, the carbohydrates, and water that I drink because I want to make sure that I'm feeding my body. If I'm going to think effectively and produce results in my business, for example, then the food that I put into my body is very important. It's the fuel. So I want to make sure that the food that I put in is healthy food that is going to help me move towards my goals. And if I notice that my weight is fluctuating or I feel tired or sluggish, then I can relate it back based on the reporting and make an educated decision as to what needs to be done about my food. The same thing applies to finances. I track every expense, I track all my income, and I track the trends, and I can project when income is going to be coming in. I can project when expenses are coming up, more so than I was able to before having a spreadsheet. So you got to be able to track everything, and not just that, track every financial aspect of your business or your career, because that's how you're able to know if you're making progress and how to optimize it so you can increase the progress that you're making. I also track my thinking and in my emotions. I mentioned earlier I have a journal, or a behavior log I call it, and essentially I'm tracking my thinking and my emotions throughout the day because I realize that my thinking drives my actions and my emotions can drive my thinking. So I want to make sure that I'm thinking and I'm feeling the right emotions to keep me on an upward trajectory. Keep it slow and easy. Start by tracking one habit per week. This may seem overwhelming when I'm telling you about all these things that I'm tracking, but understand that I started many years ago and I started by tracking one thing. I first started by tracking my finances, and then I realized that after tracking my finances, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I got to make sure that every area of my life is in sync with that. So I was able to track those other things 1 week at a time or 1 month at a time. I would put new tracking systems in place, and it would allow me to get better reporting so I can make the educated decisions based on it, but it didn't happen overnight. So it's important to commit to yourself today that you're going to track at least one of the habits that you're doing right now, and you're going to create a log. You're going to create a spreadsheet, or you're going to create something that is going to be able to gather the data of the progress you're making over the days and weeks and months to come, and figure out what needs to be optimized from there, and then from there be able to add more tracking and analytics to everything that you do. So that's choices. Next, it's the habits, because it's your choices that you make that govern the actions that you take, and the repeat actions that you take form habits. Aristotle wrote, We are what we repeatedly do. So I'm going to say that again. We are what we repeatedly do. It's not what you do once in a while. It's what you do predominantly that governs the most results that you get, or the output, or the actions, or the results, essentially, of what you get. Webster defines habit this way: an acquired mode of behavior that has become nearly or completely involuntary. So essentially, habits make you automatic. A lot of the habits that I've built in my 20s have become automatic in my 30s. And the more I realize this, I say, you know what? More positive habits and less negative habits. So the more I form these habits, the more I become automatic. And I find myself automatically behaving a certain way. I don't need a lot of discipline, or I don't need any discipline to go to the gym every morning. That has been a habit that's been wired into my brain for the last 3 years. I've been consistent. I just wake up and I go, because it feels weird if I don't. So I don't really need to force myself or convince myself to go to the gym. I go to the gym even on holidays. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go because it's an automatic behavior, but it's an automatic positive behavior. And the same thing applies for business skills, communication skills, whatever it is. You want to make those habits automatic. And those habits become automatic when you are consistent, or those actions become habits which become automatic when you are consistent. Psychological studies reveal that 95% of everything we feel, think, do, and achieve is a result of a learned habit. So again, 95% of everything we feel, think, do, and achieve is a result of a learned habit. So you can learn to have positive habits no matter where you are right now in your life, and you can be consistent on those habits, which will change the results that you get. A daily routine built on good habits is the difference that separates the most successful amongst us from everyone else. So a daily routine is something that you put in place that incorporates the best behaviors. For me, I make sure that I exercise 5 days a week. That's in a daily routine. I meditate. I eat predominantly well. And during the weeks, Monday to Friday, I eat on point on my diet. Saturday and Sunday, or maybe Friday night, I might relax a little bit. But for the most part, my habits are to eat properly. And then I start work at a certain time. I work on certain business activities. I'm disciplining myself to make sure that I'm doing highest and best use of those business activities. And in the starting, it was hard, but over time, it gets better and better. And what happens is that the results change. I also dedicate time every day for social and communication interaction, building relationships and so forth, because that's important too. I don't neglect any part of my life, because I realize that if I neglect it, any part of my life that's important to me, I'll have to play catch up later on. And while I can't be perfect, I try to focus on doing the best that I can. So for the most part, things tend to be very good if you understand how to fit the things that are important to you as part of your daily routine. Think your way out of an instant gratification trap. So I remember this. I remember I mentioned this earlier in the video, talking about instant gratification. We live in a world today that actually encourages instant gratification behavior, but that's not the route to success. What you need to do is develop the ability to delay instant gratification. It's time to wake up and realize that the habits you indulge in could be compounding your lie into repeated disaster. Okay, so instant gratification, for the most part, leads you into disastrous situation. You've got to set up routines and processes in place and remove yourself from distractive situations that take you down an instant gratification trap, and consistently do things that are positive, that move you forward, build momentum on it, so that you can prevent yourself from finding situations where you are moving towards instant gratification. Next, finding your mojo, your why power. Your choices are only meaningful when you connect them to your desires and dreams. Simply trying to be fit for the sake of being fit, or simply trying to make money for the sake of trying to make money, is not going to be beneficial. You have to attach it to a greater desire, your purpose, your dreams, the feeling, imagine feeling the results that you feel when you're able to create the result of the outcome from the money that you're able to make, and or the fitness, how you will feel when you are in a certain situation, when you're in great health and fitness, when you look great. It's those things that give meaning to why you do what you do and are going to motivate you. That's essentially your why, to do the things you have to do every day, because this is about daily discipline. It's about doing things daily and consistently. And if you don't know why you're doing it, you can find yourself not being very, enjoying of the process. The wisest and most motivating choices are the ones aligned with that which you identify as your purpose, your core self, and your highest values. So I talk a lot about this a lot on my channel, finding your purpose, making sure that what you do is aligned with that purpose, because if you know what your purpose is and you work to find what your purpose is and then you discover what it is and you're not like maybe fully sure on it, but you're getting surer and surer on your purpose, you're going to find yourself doing more of the good behaviors. You're going to be on this automatic pathway of good behaviors because you realize that that's what you're doing. That's what you live for. That's what gives you meaning in life. And it's going to be easier, and you're not going to rely on willpower because you're going to be more automatic. The power of your why is what gets you to stick through grueling, mundane, and essentially habits that don't give us joy, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to end up finding joy in those habits. What other people see as grueling and mundane, you're going to end up finding enjoyable because your why is fueling that. If your actions conflict with your values, you'll end up unhappy, frustrated, and you will essentially be upset at yourself. You won't have nobody else to blame but yourself, because you know deep down inside that your actions are not in line with your values. So if you've figured out what your purpose is, then it's easier. And if you go on the journey to figure out what your purpose is and you get closer and closer to figuring out your purpose as you take action, you'll find that things that don't fit into your values, you're not going to want to do. You just won't do them. And the more you're on your purpose, the less likely you'll be persuaded to do something that you don't want to do. Goal setting. Whatever you vividly imagine, ardently desire, sincerely believe, and enthusiastically act upon must inevitably come to pass. So this essentially, we can say law of attraction, but it's more pragmatic than most of the definitions of law of attraction, because essentially what you focus on, and let's look at this quote here, we are bombarded with billions of sensory each day. We ignore 99.9% of it based on what we focus on. So what you focus on, your brain actually calibrates to find meaning on. So in other words, if you have a vision and you have a goal of exactly what you want in life, pretty much everything that you come across each day is going to be giving you meaning, either moving you towards that vision or not. And because we have so much sensory input coming at us from all different angles each day, we can't focus on all that. So we have to relate everything towards our highest goal. Now, we'll still absorb some of that information, but our awareness is not on that specific bit of information that's coming to us that is moving us away from our goal. We're essentially interested in only what we're interested in. So what we have to do is find out and focus more on what we're interested in to be able to recalibrate our mind, to be able to only focus on the things that matter and discard the information that doesn't matter. If we don't discard the information that doesn't matter, we'll be influenced by it. And when we're influenced by it, we might get thrown off our habits. So you only see, experience, and get what you look for. If you don't know what to look for, you certainly won't get it. So it's important to become clear. Let's talk about my process here. Make a list of goals in your life that are important to you. Next, reverse engineer all the steps you need to do to get there. Figure out what's required, who you need to become, what are the actions you need to take, what are the books you need to read, what are the seminars you need to attend to get there, and focus on only doing the things that move you forward towards these goals each day until your mind is focused and clear. So essentially, the more you take action towards your vision, the clearer you become. So if you don't have absolute clarity right now, that's okay, because the clarity comes when you take action. Feel if anything you're doing is moving you away from your goals based on your gut and recalibrate. So we mentioned this earlier, that if you know that something is taking you away from your purpose or your values, it says here, if your actions conflict with your values, you'll end up unhappy, frustrated. Essentially, you will feel it prior to taking those actions that are negative, that are moving you away from your goal. You'll feel that you shouldn't be doing it. I have a saying, when in doubt, do nothing. Well, where does that doubt come from? That doubt is actually your gut telling you that this is not aligned with your values, with your purpose. So you shouldn't be doing that thing. We should be moving through life and doing these things I'm talking about here not with the sense of frustration and force. That's not what this is about. This is about power. There's a difference between power and force. Okay, so power is essentially being focused on what the outcome is and gracefully moving towards it while not letting anything get in your way. Okay, forcefully doing things will tire yourself out. You'll just end up getting tired and frustrated. And the way we force things is by doing things that we know we shouldn't be doing. Okay, when we're powerful, we just do it. It just ends up happening. And if you feel not powerful enough, it's probably because you're not focused on exactly what it is that you want. And with time, the more actions you take towards that purpose that you've created, even if it doesn't seem like a burning desire right away, the burning desire picks up. What will happen is you'll start to get clearer, you'll start to get more focused, and you'll start to move forward more efficiently, and it won't seem stressful. It won't require willpower because that's just who you are. So in this journey, it's who you become. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. Okay, so you don't get what you want, you get who you are. And essentially, in order to be able to achieve what you want to achieve in life, you have to step into the persona of the person that is in alignment with that goal. That means you become a different level of yourself. You become a different version of yourself. You become a person that has certain ideologies, ways of thinking, behaviors, and actions that is in alignment with what you want. And if you want more, you have to become more. So he talks about the story of his wife and how he met his wife. He made a list, and he said it was, I think, like, I don't know how many pages and pages long of the qualities he was looking for in a wife or in a girlfriend. And what he went to do is, rather than go and look for a woman like that, he became the equivalent of that kind of woman. So if you're looking for a woman that is physically fit and goes to the gym, well, maybe you got to do that also. If you want a woman that is financially successful, well, you've got to be financially successful too. You can't just want things just for the sake of wanting it and expect people to fit into your reality. You got to become the equivalent. The energies, if you strip this all down to the energies that are similar will tend to resonate together. If your energy is lower and you're trying to attract somebody at a higher energy, that person's not going to want to be around you because they're not going to want to lower themselves to your energy. Likewise, if you've got a higher energy and you try to attract someone with a lower energy, something is not going to feel right. You're going to feel uncomfortable around them. So you have to really understand who you need to become when you are in alignment with what it is that you want to attract or what the result is that you want to get. And you have to be able to do the things consistently to Okay, let's talk about the 5 strategies for eliminating bad habits. Identify your triggers: who, what, where, and when. Essentially, what moved you towards a direction which wasn't optimal? Who was there? What were you doing? Where was it, and when? These little points here will help you indicate what you need to change so you don't find yourself in those situations. Maybe it's who you're with. Maybe you need to not spend that kind of time with that person, or you might need to find a different person to associate with so you don't get triggered into going this direction, which isn't a bad habit. What were you doing at a time? Was it a certain thing that you're doing? Like, for example, if you have a couple drinks, you're more likely to eat the junk food. If you go out partying, you're more likely to have drinks. If you stay out and you go to certain kinds of events, you're more likely to partake in taking drugs or something like that. What was it that you were doing in that particular point in time, that got you to move down a different direction? Where was it? Certain locations are more likely to increase bad habits. And when was it? Certain times of day. Perhaps your willpower is a lot lower at the end of the day. So was it at a later point in night when this bad behavior happened? Because that has an impact too. You got to identify what the triggers are and then be able to put yourself in situations where you don't experience those things that trigger you down in that direction. Next, clean your house mentally, physically, and emotionally. The more distraction and the more clutter and the more negative things you have in not just your house as in your physical house, but in your mental mind and your emotions, the more likely you are going to operate from the perspective of that clutter or that negativity and take action towards a direction that's not positive. It's not going to move you forward towards your objective. So what you want is you only want things within your awareness and your environment that bring out the best in you, that move you forward towards the direction that you want. Swap it. Replace bad habits with good habits. Like I said, you only get 24 hours in a day. So essentially, It's what you do with that 24 hours that determines who you become and the results that you get. So essentially, if you got some bad habits that you do at certain times, try to swap it with good habits, because then you won't have room for the bad habits. Next, ease in to replacing the bad habits. Take baby steps and chunk down the good habits into small little steps. For example, if you need to become more social and you spend too much time at home and you're just kind of working from home, etc., which is kind of what I have to do, then essentially what you need to do is you need to get out and you need to connect with people and so forth. And after a long day of working and getting stuff done, that's probably not the thing sometimes I really want to do. But all I do is I baby step it. I chunk it down and say, just get dressed, just walk outside. All I want you to do is just walk down the street. And then I'll find myself in the position where I'm being social again, and I realize how beneficial it is for me. But rather than focusing on the big social outcome of connecting with people and so forth, and going out and whatever, just baby step it so that you just ease yourself into that same situation. The same applies, for example, if you go to the gym. Rather than saying, okay, I'm going to do this lengthy workout and it's going to be really hard, figure out how you can just get dressed and just get in the car and just drive towards the gym. That's a small step. And when you get there, just say, you know what, I'm going to be here for 15 minutes. And when you're there for 15 minutes, say, I'm going to continue my workout and keep going. Or you can jump in, you can take bold action and shock the system into growth. I think it's good to have a diverse strategy. Some things you're easing in and some things you're just jumping in. Because by doing this, you're essentially training different parts of your brain to take action and break the bad habits. Let's talk about the 6 techniques for installing good habits. Number 1, set yourself up for success. Proximity, being in the right places in the right time that facilitates good behavior. Remove friction from your environment. If your desk is messy and your environment is messy and you have to go from destination to destination, there's a lot of friction, you're essentially relying on burning up your willpower to get there. So where are the places that you could be and live and essentially deal with that have good proximity to good habits and success? Next, think addition, not subtraction. Add more things to your schedule. Sometimes, if you find yourself being distracted and wasting time, the more things that you have to do, the more things you're involved with that are positive habits that you commit to, the harder it is to fit those bad habits into your schedule. Next, go for a PDA. Essentially what this means is public display of accountability. By publicly acknowledging or publicly admitting or publicly discussing what it is that you're going to do, you set yourself accountable because you don't want to seem foolish if you don't do it. Or number 4, find a success buddy. Find someone that can partake in an accountability program with you and essentially hold you accountable to do the things that you do. One of the things that I do is I have clients that I hold them accountable for the business tasks they have to do, and they pay me to hold them accountable. And it's a good investment for them because without having me, they're not able to complete the tasks that they need to do because I have my own systems and processes to hold them accountable. But essentially, you need to be able to do this. And one of the things that I do too is I hold myself accountable, because if I don't complete a certain amount of tasks every day or certain tasks that have to be done every day, I give $20 away. And I don't really want to do that. So by setting up a little accountability to do that, I essentially am kind of forcing myself to develop the good habits. Now, after time, you won't need to force yourself because it becomes automatic. Number 5, completion and competition and camaraderie. So essentially, competition is good. If you set up a winning, not a winning spirit or a competition type of environment or atmosphere with who you're dealing with, and there's this friendly competition going on, it can motivate you. It can being competitive with your environment in business, for example, in your marketplace, can motivate you to do better. Next, celebrate. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Enjoy some of the fruits of your victories along the way. Promise yourself a pot of gold at the end. It's good to celebrate your victories, because if you don't, you can come off as being very dry and you can lose your passion and meaning for why you do it. So when you get success along the way and you stay consistent, take some time to reward and celebrate the progress that you've been making. So change. 99% of failures and successful people hate doing the same things, but successful people do them anyways. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you don't want to do it. You have to get the things that you need to do done. You have to do the things to produce the results. And most likely, we all know what it is that we have to do. And because we know what we have to do, we have to find places or different ways to implement what it is that we're trying to do. Next, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. So change is hard. Doing the things that need to get done to produce success is hard, But the key here is building momentum, is essentially getting to a place where you're doing the daily disciplines or the daily things that move you forward. And with time, it gets easier because it becomes automatic. And in the process, you're removing any conflicting thoughts and information from your mind that says you can't do it, or people from your environment or news and things like that that are disempowering you and holding you back from doing the things you have to do. And as you do this, it becomes more natural, it becomes more organic. So in a way, you could say it is kind of easy. What's hard essentially is removing the negative influences from your environment. Once you remove the negative influences from your mind and your environment, it does become easy, because then you're motivated to do the things, and you stay motivated to do the things you have to do. Personally, I'm always happy when something is hard. Why? Because I know that most people won't do what it takes. Therefore, it'll be easier for me to step in front of the pack and take the lead. In very competitive situations, the ideologies of the person that are winning are considerably different than the ideologies of the people that are losing or not essentially making a lot of progress. That's because they see challenge as opportunity. They see challenge as, okay, if everybody's going to see this as hard, that means more people are going to fall out. All I got to do is stay the course. All I got to do is keep myself with positive influences and so forth, feed my mind with good information, and I'm going to move forward. If it's hard, awkward, or tedious, so be it. Just do it and keep doing it, and the magic of the compound effect will reward you handsomely. And be patient. Good habits and bad habits are not formed overnight. Next, let's talk about momentum. Objects in motion tend to stay in motion. So the key here is to build momentum. And then as you're riding on the momentum, it's important to not get off the momentum. It's important to add more to it so you can build that momentum further. Getting started is hard, progress is slow, but with time, momentum kicks in. So when you get started, that's the hardest part. And if you're not getting results right away, stay the course, because results come with time. And then once you are consistent on the actions you take, then momentum will kick in, and then you're automatically doing the things you know you have to do. You'll feel great about it. You'll feel purposeful. You'll enjoy the process, and the results will come. Let's talk about how to build momentum. First, make new choices based on your goals and core values. Second, putting those choices to work through new positive behaviors. Then, repeating those healthy actions long enough to establish new habits. You have to do it consistently long enough. You have to be in it for the long term. This is not about being short term in your thinking. If you're not getting the results that you want right now, then consider investing months and years and decades in the process. It's the only way. A lot of times, success is found just by staying in the game longer while others tap out. Next, building routines and rhythms into your daily discipline. So I mentioned my morning routine. I got a work routine. I got an evening routine. And I'm even starting to put a weekend routine in place, because I realize that if I know what it is that I have to do that are optimal behaviors, and I know what I have to do that, or what I don't need to do, which are suboptimal behaviors, why am I doing it? I should be only doing the optimal things that move me forward and that bring me joy and happiness. And the joy and happiness I get is also from the fact that I stay disciplined all throughout the week, and I can see my progress because I track everything. I can see the progress in all areas of my life. So you've got to build routines so that you're consistent in the things you're doing. And number 5, stay consistent over a long enough period of time. So let's talk about routines. Your new attitudes and behaviors must be incorporated into your monthly, weekly, and daily routines to affect any real positive change. Okay, so routines. Why? Because that forms habits. Developing a routine of predictable daily disciplines prepares you to be victorious on the battlefield of life. It prevents you from getting distracted and essentially moving down different directions, which, when we mentioned this earlier, a small choice got you to where you are right now. And if you're not happy with some of the areas of your life right now, then understand something. When you got daily routines and disciplines in place, you're less likely to make one of those decisions that you made to get you to where you are right now. And you're more likely to make a positive decision because you're continuously building momentum on the seeds that you've planted from the daily discipline, the start of the daily disciplines. And also, it's important to shake it up every now and then, to mix up your routines, to challenge yourself, to grow further, create like growth spurts. One of the things that I like to do is like to move around and work from different countries, because when I do that, my environment changes, the dynamics change, and it forces me to learn how to adapt and essentially turn chaos into a process. If you are constantly putting yourself in situations where it's easy and that routine breaks, you're going to be thrown off because the environment sometimes forces the routine to change. So if you're proactive about it and you put yourself in chaotic situations and you know how to maintain a routine in a chaotic situation, then you're going to be more advantageous. So that's why it's good to mix up your routines every now and then. When your disciplines and actions develop a rhythm, you welcome momentum. So life is simply a collection of experiences. Our goal should be to increase the frequency and the intensity of the good experiences. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. We're not just putting the compound effect into play just for the sake of doing it. We're doing it because we want more positive life experiences. That's our why. We need to know what our life experiences are that we want, and we have to realize that it's the positive things we do over time with consistently that will help us get those experiences. But not only that, open the door up for even more profound experiences and more volume of experiences. Next, let's talk about influences. You must realize that your choices, behaviors, and habits are formed by very powerful external forces. So what are they? Number one is input, what you feed your mind. So essentially, it's the kind of information that you consume. We need an extra level of vigilance to prevent our brains from absorbing irrelevant, counterproductive, or downright destructive input. So if you're constantly listening to complaining information or news that is designed to just get you to emotionally react and not really provide any real value to you, then you're feeding your mind with stuff that's not actually going to help you. Left on its own devices, your mind will traffic in the negative, worrisome, and fearful all day and all night. Do not leave your mind alone. Keep it occupied with doing something constructive and consuming good information that's going to empower you. Your mind is an empty glass. It'll hold anything you put into it. So your mind is just going to take the input that comes into it and make sense of it and drive you to act from it. And that's something that you won't have control over if you're in environments that have a lot of negativity in it, that give you a lot of negative stimulus. So you have to find yourself away from those environments or those situations or those sources of negativity. Otherwise, your mind is just going to believe what it hears, so what you essentially pick up. Fill your mind with information on success, prosperity, health, love, and joy. Ideas to create more abundance, to grow, expand, and become more. Examples of stories of what is good, right, and possible in this world. And that's one of the reasons why I make these videos, because I like to put out content that fits this criteria to help you fill your mind with things that will empower you, that make you feel good, that give the power back to you so you can get the results that you want. So steps: stand guard. Take inventory of the sources of negative information that are penetrating your mind every day and remove yourself from those situations. Disable whatever needs to be disabled on your computer, disable whatever needs to be disabled on your TV, and even, if possible, get rid of your TV to prevent information to go into your mind that you are not filtering, and then consume information that you are filtering prior to entering your mind. You decide on what it is that you want to consume as far as information goes, and make sure it falls within these categories here that I mentioned, and then only consume that information, and it will change your thinking. It will change how you feel about reality. It will change your behaviors, and your behaviors will form into habits, and your habits will produce the results. Next, enroll in Drive Time U. Essentially, he's talking about Drive Time University, which he says what he does is while he's driving, is he listens to educational programs, inspiring programs, audiobooks and stuff that is designed to instruct and inspire you to grow, to empower you. And I do this not only while I'm driving. Sometimes when I'm driving, I like to reflect. And reflecting is good because I make sure I'm reflecting on positive things. And I also do this while I'm working out. I make sure I'm consuming positive information while working out. When I run, I listen to The Stranger's Secret by Earl Nightingale. And I listen to podcasts, because podcasts, there's a lot of really good podcasts out there that can teach you things, that can empower you, that can elevate your way of thinking so you feel more empowered. Next is associations, the people whom you spend time with. According to research by social psychologist Dr. David McClelland of Harvard, your reference group determines as much as 95% of your success or failure in life. Who you spend your time with, or I should say who you invest your time with, is going to determine how you think and how you behave in ways that you cannot imagine. Remember I mentioned this earlier, that your mind is essentially an empty glass and will take in and reflect upon whatever is taken in with no bias. If you find yourself in situations where you're not behaving optimal, you're not doing the right things, well, consider the people that you're associating with. And understand something, that if you want to become that person that attracts that result that you want, you're going to have to do whatever it takes to place yourself in situations, environments, and around people to facilitate those good ways of thinking that produce the results that you want. You have to change your behaviors, which form your habits. And you need to look at who you're associating with, because if 95% of your reference group determines your success or failure, that's quite considerable. Okay? Who do you spend your time with? Who are the people you most admire? Are those two groups of people exactly the same? If not, why not? Okay, so it's good to spend time, invest time with people that you admire. They might not have all the success that you admire. Maybe they're very good with finances, but they're not really good with health and fitness. Or maybe they're good with health and fitness, but they're not very good with relationships. Maybe they're good with relationships, but they're not good with fitness. Whatever it is that they're good at, associate with those aspects of them. And ideally, you want to find people that are holistic, that are good in all areas of their life. And you want to associate with them because it's that vibe, that energy from them that you will absorb, that will change your behaviors, that will change your actions. So again, those that you spend time with and those that you admire should be the same. The people with whom we spend our time determine what conversations dominate our attention and to which attitudes and opinions we are regularly exposed. 3 types of associations. Disassociations. There are some people that you need to break away from completely. This might not be easy, but it's essential. Limited associations. Decide how much time you can afford to be influenced based on how these people represent themselves. So again, with some people, they might bring you some positive feelings and positivity, but investing too much time with them results in negativity because they might have all these other characteristics with them that you don't necessarily want to absorb, because again, you're absorbing energy, you're absorbing essence from whoever you're around. So just because you're around somebody that is 10% positive and maybe very financially successful, but the rest of their life is falling apart, doesn't mean that your subconscious mind and your mind is not absorbing that other 90% that you're not interested in. So you got to be very controlled and implement limited associations and focus on the aspects of that person that's mutually beneficial. And again, I'm not saying be a taker type person. I'm saying be mutually beneficial. Associate with people that you can be mutually beneficial to, because that's how it works. I mean, you can't be the person that only wants to be around people that are at a higher level or high level of success, and then you bring nothing to the table, because they're going to feel like you're draining them. They're essentially going to be wanting to disassociate from you or have limited associations with you. Try to bring as much positivity to the table as possible, and then that other person is going to want to invest more time in you. Expanded associations. Identify people who have positive qualities in the areas of life that are important to you and invest more time with them. Next, find a peak performance partner. Find peak performance partners who can hold you accountable. I've got a number of them that I work with. Some of my clients, we hold each other accountable on things. I have a client that I hold accountable. He pays me to hold him accountable. However, I still hold myself accountable because I have to perform at my best so I could hold him accountable. Otherwise, I'm just going to be a hypocrite. So that is a form of a peak performance partner too. Or you can find a partner that you could work a deal with and hold each other accountable and report to each other every week to make sure you're moving forward. Invest in mentorship. It's important to find people that already have the results you want and invest in them. Hire them as a consultant, take them out for dinner. Be the kind of person that invests in people at a higher level to teach you the shortcuts, the tricks, the ways of being, the philosophies, the thinking, the infusing of their vibe in you so that you can change your actions, which change your behaviors, which done over an extended period of time will produce the results you want. And also develop your own personal board of advisors. Who are the people that have diverse skills in different areas, and what skill do they have that you would like to acquire? And how do you find them and then associate with them, build a relationship with them so that you can make sure that you are progressing forward? Your environment. Pick environments which positively influence people and that fuels your ambition and expands your dreams. So your environment influences you. So it's essentially your input with what you feed your mind, the people you spend time with, and your environment. Make sure you pick environments that are positive and uplifting and not victim and disempowering by nature, because you will absorb that, because your mind is an empty vessel waiting to absorb information, and it will absorb and cause you to act based on that. One of the things that I like is minimalism. Minimalism is a concept where you only own, think, and feel the things that are valuable and you appreciate and bring you joy. And what I've done is for a number of years, I've lived out of a backpack not because I couldn't afford anything else, but rather because I chose it, because I wanted to make sure that I was very specific on the kind of influences that were coming to me from my environment. And if I wasn't feeling good in that environment, I would be able to move right away. And the more I did that, the more I was able to absorb and positive information and grow even faster. Minimalism is not just a physical thing you do, it's also mental and emotional. Mental information, essentially information that is designed to get you to move forward towards your goals, to empower you, to create more love and joy in your life and how you feel about others, to give the power back in your hand, versus information that is designed to disempower you, that cause hatred and anger and fear and frustration. And then emotional, positive emotions being around and consuming and doing things that raise your emotions, listen to certain kinds of music and certain kinds of information that make you feel good. If you tolerate disrespect, you will be disrespected. This is probably one of the most profound realizations I've had in my entire life. People will only disrespect you if you tolerate disrespect. If you allow people to disrespect you, it's not their fault. It's your responsibility to prevent people from disrespecting you by having a high level of respect for yourself, by carrying yourself in a respectful way, by speaking respectfully, by respecting your emotions, by respecting your time, by respecting mentally, physically, everything, people around you, and transacting and carrying yourself from a place of respect in a way where you can't even accept any form of disrespect in your environment or in your presence, because it's not the energy that matches. Energy, very interesting. I'm going to make videos talking about energy because I think it's really important. Energetic, you can feel people's energy. If it's a person that has an energy of you can't disrespect them, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, you won't disrespect them. If you feel that there's a person that is bouncy on their energy and they're not very grounded, you can feel it. If you feel a person is purposeful, they have a certain energy to them. So your energy has to be one that doesn't tolerate disrespect. Acceleration. There is a point in every race when a rider encounters his real opponent and understands that it's himself, Lance Armstrong. So in order to accelerate, in order to raise yourself up to a higher level, you have to confront your ego, your inner demons, the aspects of you that tell you that you're not worthy of the goal, that you can't go any further. And in the context of sports, everybody hits the wall at a certain time in their performance. It's when their doubts kick in. Darren would talk about how he would ride his bike uphill. And at a certain time, when he rode his bike uphill, at a certain point, he would hit the wall. And there would be all these doubts saying, stop. And that's one of the things that I used to love doing when I was living in Austria, is I used to run uphill. I used to get to a point where I hit the wall. And then there would be all these doubts saying, no, don't continue. It's too hard. Turn around. You've gone too far. And that to me was the sweet spot. That was the place where my real abilities came out. And my thoughts were, I had to break through that. I had to push through that. I remember that. And I put myself in situations like that every day, actually. Why? Because I want to grow. And when I grow, when I break through those things, and sometimes you don't break through radically, sometimes you break through a little bit, or sometimes you'll be pushing on it for days and weeks and months, trying to break that plateau. But when you eventually do, you get higher levels of insights, higher levels of optimizations that you can take action upon that will produce habits that will form automatic behaviors that will send you down this compounding effect towards a higher level. Viewing yourself as your toughest competitor is one of the best ways to multiply your results. Go above and beyond when you hit the wall. Another way of multiplying your results is pushing past what other people expect of you, doing more than enough. You have infinite possibility, infinite capability, and if you try to tell others what you're capable of doing, most likely they will only reflect back to you the level they think of themselves. If you're around inspiring, uplifting people, they will make you feel uplifted when you share your goals and dreams. When you're around people that are disempowering or think low of themselves, who have low self-esteem, who are afraid of addressing the issues, they're going to project that outwards towards you when you share your dreams and your vision. Not because they're bad, not because they're evil, but because they have not gone past their limits themselves. Do the unexpected, do better than expected. Make a commitment. This is Monday. Make a commitment to yourself. Or I don't know when you're watching this video, but I'm releasing this video on Monday. That for the rest of this week, you are going to do the unexpected. You're going to push beyond your wall. You're going to do better than you expect from yourself and others. And in all areas of your life, look for the multiplier opportunities where you can go a little further, push yourself a little harder, last a little longer, prepare a little better, and deliver a little bit more. For everything that you put out there will come back to you. And the consistency and the practice of doing it daily will make it automatic. And this will become not things that you do, but rather who you are. And you don't get what you want, you get who you are. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. I will talk to you soon. Take care.